Well, guys, the early betting odds for Khamzat Chimaev versus Leon Edwards have Khamzat as a pretty decent favorite. We're talking about that fight and who we think might be the winner right now. What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
Hey guys, just real quick before we get started here, we are on audio as well, where you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, you name it, the whole gamut. So if you're driving, if you want to listen to the audio version, we would love if you would check us out, subscribe, and review our audio podcast. Thank you so much. And so, Nick, we have the second fight, the Wednesday night fight of this just incredible trio of main events happening at Fight Island. We have the rescheduled Khamzat Chimaev versus Leon Edwards. Leon has since overcome COVID-19. He's back preparing. He's ready to go. Vegas thinks Khamzat's going to win this fight. Yeah. I've seen odds almost to minus 200, like minus 185, minus 190 for Khamzat. Pretty big favorite. Most of the time when you see a guy ranked number 3 fighting a guy ranked number 15, the odds are pretty far skewed in the number 3's direction. This is not the case.
No, absolutely not. And it's very rare for somebody to get a ranking in a division where they've only fought once in the UFC.
Right.
He fought twice at 185, which does a little bit for your career at 170. But he's only fought one other 170, and now he's jumping into the deepest part of the pool with Leon Edwards. Yeah. Kind of a guy that really nobody's wanted to fight. All the top guys have agreed to fight him because they know that adds some, a great name to their resume. And it's been kind of due to lockdowns and travel issues that Leon hasn't been very active. I think the inactivity of Leon Edwards and the activity of Khamzat Chimaev is going to play a role in this fight. I wish we could have seen it at the beginning or at the very end of last year, but it is a great way to start 2021, and it's still pretty active as far as Khamzat Chimaev's career goes. Like, he's only this is the longest layover he's had in the UFC, probably like 90 days or something like that, but usually he's on that 10-day bounce back.
Yeah, if he had his way, he would fight Leon Edwards, and then he would replace Dustin Poirier and fight Conor McGregor
exactly
2 or 3 days later.
Maybe even make weight.
Yeah, he's just Khamzat is just kind of a horse of a different color, if you will, and he is truly he's a throwback to the old school MMA days. He's like, give me multiple guys in one night. Give me people in the weight class. What weight class? What are you talking about? I'll fight Stipe if you want me to. Yeah. I spar with Alexander Gustafsson, so what the hell? Yeah. He's just one of those guys that any night, any weight class, anybody, I'm down for it. And as you see, as we talk about a lot on this show, if you have that mentality, Kevin Holland, Khamzat Chimaev, that does wonders for you at the company. The UFC will absolutely get behind you, put some marketing dollars behind you, and start to tout you as one of their guys if you have that sort of mentality. And I think Cowboy kind of paved the way for that. Even though Cowboy doesn't win a lot of fights these days, Cowboy's still a fan favorite because he's taken that mentality his entire career. And then when you have that mentality and you're winning every fight like Kevin Holland and Khamzat Chimaev are, it's just even all that much better.
Yeah. Well, the X's and O's on this one are pretty crazy as well. When you have Khamzat Chimaev, we know what he's going to come out and try to do. Yep. He can knock you out, but if in the process of doing that he ends up getting in grappling range, you're going to go down and for a ride, and then you're going to go down to the ground. And Leon Edwards is, he's no punk. He's like people the Vegas betting odds and stuff like that, putting him down as the underdog is pretty crazy. I can't remember the last time Leon Edwards was an underdog, and I think this fight it's one of those weird situations where Khamzat Chimaev, if he can win this, it's massive. But if he loses, his stock doesn't go down that much. It's right. It's
he cools off just a little bit.
A little bit, but he's losing to number 3 and he's number 15, and so it's one of those things where it looks really good, and that's why I believe the UFC wanted to keep this fight intact. Yeah, they didn't want to give Khamzat somebody else like a Neil Magny or some of the couple of people that were calling
Kevin
him
Holland.
Out. Kevin Holland. They didn't want to do that because there wasn't as much on the fight. The Leon Edwards versus Khamzat is big because if he wins, he's jumped 12 people. Now he's number 3 and will likely get a shot at the title at 170. And if he loses, then they're just going to give him a top 10 guy, and then we'll still
sort
figure
of see where he falls, see where his ceiling right now really truly is. But, you know, I got to be honest, man, just early predictions. I think the odds makers have this right. I was at Leon Edwards' last fight in San Antonio when he fought RDA, which was
time ago.
The summer of 2019. I mean, it's been quite some time, and ring rust is a real thing. Leon Edwards looked very, very sharp in that fight. But if there was one thing that Leon Edwards, in my opinion, was lacking on, was his ability to stop the takedown. And it looked like he exerted a decent amount of energy getting back up.
Yeah.
And I think there's just no way that he's going to be able to prevent Khamzat from taking him down. And I think that once he gets taken down, it's going to take a lot of wind out of his sails, because it's going to be he'll get back up. I don't think Khamzat will just take him down and finish him the first time he takes him down. I do think Leon's a seasoned enough fighter and skilled enough fighter to get back up and make this a competitive fight. But I just don't think that after 3, 4, 5 times of getting taken back down and just exhausting himself getting back to his feet, that he's going to be able to really be effective in rounds 3 and beyond.
Yeah. If it goes that far.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you're right. I do think that this fight does make it to the ground, and I think Leon Edwards does get back up to his feet. But once you've done that a few times and Khamzat rinse and repeats and takes you down, you have to get back up, and it's a struggle. And then only for him to take you down again, it becomes a mental battle where you're like, Jesus,
I can't stop this guy's takedown. Yeah.
And what becomes very difficult, and this is why, I didn't really like the fight between Khamzat and Wonderboy, is Wonderboy is a fantastic striker, maybe the best the sport has. But what is so difficult is he has to literally play and run and use as much of the octagon as he possibly can for the entire duration of the fight. And Wonderboy's a 25-minute fighter. This fight will be a 25-minute long fight, and Leon Edwards is going to have to essentially run, moving backwards, and work his striking and kicks and all of that stuff in range for 25 minutes. You have to be perfect against a guy like Khamzat, because once he does take you down 2 or 3 or even 4 times, then you start to fatigue and you can't get up quite as easily. And it's much easier to be on top than it is on bottom when it comes to grappling. And the reason the Khabib Khamzat style of fighting works so well is it crushes your opponent's gas tank. Yeah. And after a few times, it becomes even easier for them to hold you down, and it becomes even more difficult for you to get back up.
Exactly. And I'm not ready to say, a lot of people are saying that Khamzat Chimaev is Khabib 2.0. I mean, I think that we still have a ways to go to before we start saying that. Yeah. Stylistically, I get it, but he's got to build the resume more so than the fighters that he's already fought. But when you think about stylistically and what happens when a fighter who competes like Khamzat and like Khabib, when they fight a really great striker, I think a great example of that would be when Khabib fought Edson Barbosa. Yeah. I mean, Edson Barbosa is truly one of the most dangerous, prolific, lightning fast, and accurate strikers that the UFC has. And I mean, some of his if you don't believe me, go look at Edson Barbosa's highlight reel of knockouts. It's some of the most insane stuff you've ever seen in your life. But once Khabib was able to close the distance, take him down, beat him up, and he had to just fight for his life just to get back up and make it to another round. And then the same thing happened again and again and again. At the end of that fight, I think it was like 30-26 or 30-25. I mean, there was like 10-8 rounds, and it was a true beatdown. Right. I can't even remember the exact score on that fight. But suffice it to say that it was a beatdown of a fight. And at the end of the fight, towards the end of the rounds, Khabib was just walking in, not even worried about the strikes anymore. And you're talking about a guy who's got some of the most insane knockouts in UFC history, and somebody's just walking him down and taking him down at will. And that's what happens if you can't. That's why a guy like Khabib, who has a great chin and can close the distance and take you down and hold you there, is so dangerous and so effective in this sport. We talk about this sport being a sport where you have to be good at everything, and that is true. And Khabib did have to go develop his striking at AKA and work to at least learn how to disguise his takedowns to really become the mixed martial artist that he is today. But if you have the ability to close the distance on somebody, take them down, hold them down, and beat them up, that style will carry you very far in this sport if you can get to the point where you can impose where your opponent knows what you're going to do and they can't stop it.
Absolutely. And so far, Khamzat Chimaev's looked pretty good doing that.
Yeah.
He's had flawless performances thus far. I think that he's going to want to keep that momentum going. It's going to be very difficult to do what he's been doing to his opponents before, to Leon Edwards. But, there's something to be said for momentum, for confidence, and I just think that he feels like he's unstoppable, and that's a good thing for a fighter to feel. You can't lie to yourself and just be like, oh, I'm the best, but not prove it. He is currently proving it to himself, and there's something special about that. You have to have that confidence, but it can't be cockiness. It's got to be confidence, and I think he thinks he is the number one contender at 170. And with a win over Leon Edwards, he very well could be. The UFC is looking to catapult this guy. He went from making his debut on Fight Island, 15,000 Instagram followers. Now he's finishing out this year with 1.2 million Instagram followers.
Yeah.
They're seeing a serious Khamzat movement. There's a lot of people that are on the train. A lot of people got on early, and people are calling him crazy because, he hasn't proven himself. But special when you see it, and Khamzat has that special, that it factor. It's very cool to see a guy like him who's not cocky, he's not arrogant. He's one of these guys, and when he trash talks, but it's literally so true and authentic, and he actually believes what he's saying.
Yeah.
You watch a lot of people that'll trash talk and they'll say stuff, and you almost can just feel the insincerity out of their words. When he says like, I think I could smash Kamaru Usman, like he truly believes that. He's not just like ponying for that big payday and then he's going to go get beat up like a B-side boxer, in the main event. So I really think that Khamzat is something special, and the UFC has acknowledged that.
Yeah, and Khamzat has this supreme confidence right now that I think is just going to continue to compound until somebody shows him that he's not the baddest dog in the park. Then he's going to believe that he's the baddest dog in the park.
Absolutely. And it's, everybody was like, oh, he's got one style and one trick. He's a one-trick pony. And then he comes out and knocks Gerald Meerschaert out in 17 seconds or whatever it was, 20
one
seconds.
One punch knockout.
One single punch. So he's definitely got the power to shut the lights off of 170ers. I mean, he did it to a 185, a big one at that. And I think when you have a guy where you really have to worry about his striking and how he fights on the feet, and, of course, the takedowns and how he does on the ground, that's pretty masterful on his part. But, you got a real problem on your hands because it's like, where can I survive best? And usually that's when the mixing of the martial arts comes into play. How well can you mix it up? But you have to understand that, like Khabib probably wishes he could strike as well as Khamzat Chimaev, because if he could, it might be even more of a problem because everybody knows exactly what Khabib's going to do. They just can't stop it. Imagine if he had the hands of Khamzat Chimaev, because Khamzat's boxing is very good. He's also good with the kicks, but usually the kicks are used to get inside. He'll throw a kick, which is pretty abnormal for a grappler.
Yeah.
He'll throw a kick just to get you to sit still for a second, and then he comes in and makes his takedown.
Yeah, he's got a very unorthodox the way he sets up takedowns with the strikes. And do I believe that he could probably hang with Leon Edwards just pure striking? I think that he could. I do also think that Leon's a little bit more of a seasoned striker than Khamzat. If you're just talking about strictly boxing or MMA striking, I think Leon, I would give him the advantage there. Not so much of an advantage that I think Khamzat couldn't handle himself in there, but I do believe that we all know what Khamzat's game plan is going to be in this. He's going to come out, he's going to try to get in Leon's face, close the distance, take him down and beat him up, and I just don't see anything in Leon's skill set that leads me to believe that he's going to be able to create problems on the ground for Khamzat or be able to easily get up from some of these takedowns. Leon is an English fighter, and it's no slight to the English fighters. They've got some great fighters and some great champions even. Michael Bisping is one of my favorite fighters. But if there's anything that they're not known for is having that wrestling pedigree from a very young age. They have some of the most fantastic, prolific boxers in the world, but they're wrestlers. You don't see a lot of Great Britain wrestlers on the podium in the Olympics for wrestling. And so I think that Leon is going to have a very difficult, very exhausting time getting back to his feet, and I do believe that that's going to be what makes the difference. Khamzat's going to be able to get him down. He's going to be able to zap the energy, and he's going to be able to finish the fight. I think he finishes the fight. Early prediction, and as always, guys, we will do week of predictions updated after we consume all the content, check out the weigh-ins. We will update. But early predictions here, I think Khamzat gets it done in the 3rd round.
Okay, yeah, and I think as of right now,
ground and pound.
Yeah, TKO. I think Khamzat Chimaev, it's hard for me to pick against him right now, and mostly that has to do with the activity. He's been very active and been eager to fight, trying to get back in there. Not saying Leon hasn't, but Leon's been a little bit more difficult to get into the octagon. So I think Khamzat Chimaev's going to come in, and the only way to knock ring rust off is to get in the ring or the octagon.
Yeah.
Octagon rust just doesn't roll off the tongue quite as well as ring rust. And do it in a live setting in a real fist fight. And Khamzat Chimaev doesn't have any ring rust right now. Leon Edwards is going to be dealing with a little bit. And I'd say 90% of fighters do have to deal with it when they come back, especially after a year-plus layoff. So I think Khamzat Chimaev is going to come out trying to finish this fight early. And I think we're going to see if Khamzat is able to bring a storm that Leon can't weather, we're going to see a 1st-round TKO finish.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you talk about needing to get the let out and knock those cobwebs off, you're going to have about 5 seconds to do it. You know what I mean? It's not going to be one of those slow burns. As soon as that bell rings, the wolf is coming. He's coming across the cage. He's trying to take your head off. He's trying to take you down, smother you, exhaust you, and finish you. Yeah. So you better get the let out pretty quick if you want to have a chance of making this a fight.
Yeah, and I think Leon Edwards, if I was in his corner and if I was in his game, training camp game planning with him, I'd say, look, I know we want to kind of feel him out a little bit, but we don't have time for that. I think we need to come out just as fast as he's going to come out. Because when 2 cars crash, you know, one of them doesn't want to be sitting still when the other one comes at 100 miles an hour. It's better that they both come at 100 miles an hour and just see who comes out.
See who walks. Yeah, but you know, it's and if I'm Leon's corner, I'm telling him the same exact thing. I think that's a great point, and that would be a great strategy because everybody's expecting Khamzat to come out 1,000,000 miles an hour. That's not necessarily Leon's style. But if I'm his cornerman, I'm saying, hey, look. The best defense is a good offense. Go attack this guy. Go show this guy there's levels to this game. You know, and maybe he will realize that there is, or maybe he shows that he's just at the top level already, even only 3 fights in. I'm picking Khamzat to win this fight. I don't know that there's much that will change my mind between now and mid-January, but you never know. You know, I always keep an open mind. I consume all the content, try to regurgitate it to you guys as best as we can, and give the most accurate assessments that we can. But right now, I just think stylistically, this is a nightmare for Leon Edwards.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think
you know, if this was Colby Covington, I would not be sharing the same thought. You know what I mean? I might even still pick Khamzat to win. But I said this is a totally different fight. But Leon Edwards specifically, I believe stylistically is perfect for Khamzat Chimaev.
There you go. Well, that's pretty tough, but I'm excited to see the fight, and hopefully some content comes out from the UFC on both of these fighters.
Yeah, and guys, let us know in the comments, are we way off on this? Is the number 15 fighter going to be shown that he's the number 15 fighter and the number 3 fighter establishes himself as potentially a number 1 contender? It is very possible. This is MMA. This is the sport we love, and it's unpredictable, and that's a big reason why we love it. So let us know in the comments, who do you think is going to win this fight? How are they going to win this fight? If Leon's going to get past the Wolf, how does he do it? And as always, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and check us out on audio where you listen to podcasts. Until the next one, have a wonderful day.
Peace.